Hi, sixth graders. Today we're going to talk a little bit about positive and negative numbers as well as absolute value. So we're looking at this picture. Andrew, who some of you know is my best friend, and Philip, my partner, and I all went to Hawaii, as you can see in this beautiful photograph. I was on a boat doing some fishing. Andrew was on a hike in the mountains, and Philip was doing some scuba diving in the ocean. So if we were to think about this as a vertical number line, I would be at sea level, which we would consider 0. So Mischief is at sea level. I could say I'm at 0, which is sea level. We could say Andrew, let's say this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So we'll say Andrew, actually let's do 100, that makes more sense. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Let's say he's 600 feet above sea level because he's on this mountain. And then we'll say Philip is let's say he's at negative 300. So we have Philip at negative 300, Andrew at positive 600, and Mischief at 0. So the thing about absolute value and the thing about distance is we use negative numbers, but if you're thinking about distance as, this is Mischief, she walks 10 steps forward, and then she walks 10 steps back. It's not like I walked negative 10 steps. So I still walked a total of 20 steps. I just walked in one direction 10 steps and then in another direction 10 steps. So altogether I walked 20 steps. We talk about absolute value, and basically what absolute value means is the distance away from 0. So it looks like this. This would be the absolute value of 3, for example. And what that means is this absolute value sign is asking how many units away from 3, how many units away from 0 is 3. So if we were looking at a number line, 0 is in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many units away is 3? Well, 1, 2, 3. It's 3 units away from 0. I could ask myself, what's the absolute value of negative 3, which is asking how many units away from 0 is negative 3? 1, 2, 3. So it's this idea that distance can never be negative. So distance can never be negative. So absolute value is always positive. And when you're thinking about something like this, Philip might be 300 feet below sea level. We might describe that as negative 30 in math in an abstract way. But if I ask how many feet is he below sea level, we would never say he's negative 300 feet below sea level. We would just say he's 300 feet below sea level. Andrew is 600 feet above sea level. So the absolute value of negative 120, asking how many units away from 0 is 120. So my answer is going to be 120. The absolute value of 47. How many units away from 0 is 47? 47. The absolute value of negative 12. How many units away from 0 is negative 12? It's 12 units away from 0. It's not negative 12 units away, it's just 12 units away. So it's the same as up here. These aren't negative units. We're still asking ourselves, okay, if we want to figure out how far away from 0 is negative 3, it's 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 units away. I hope that helps a little bit. So this is just like a representation of positive and negative numbers. So sometimes we look at positive and negative numbers using a vertical number line. And a real world application problem that you see a lot is sea level being 0 and then negative being below the sea level and positive numbers being above the sea level. But I just wanted to point out, when we're talking about absolute value, we wouldn't say that Philip is negative 300 feet below. The absolute value of negative 300 is 300 feet below sea level. He's 300 feet below.